How's it going, everybody? This is Soul Time Productions. Once again, bringing you some content about gangland, the consequences of gangbanging. I'm trying to teach the youth a better route. Uh, Maybe find different alternatives in life to not follow the street life, the gangbang life. I have lost many people to gang violence, uh, overdoses, and I'm just trying to reach someone. If I could help anybody to move away from that kind of life, or just just shed some kind of light, uh, that's my purpose right now, right? And today we're gonna talk about Calle Walnut, very notorious neighborhood in Santa Ana. Uh, Many people have heard of them. They beef it with barrios like Lopers, and I think they beef it with Townsend as well. These guys are gunners, they don't play around. These guys, I know I have a few homies from Walnut, and these guys were no joke, man. Shout out to them, and I found some very sick articles, uh, a few court cases and stuff, and one of them goes like this, right? It says appellate Juan Roldan was sentenced to life in prison without parole for carrying out a pair of shootings against rival gang members. He contends he was denied a fair trial because the victim of one of the shootings was deported after the preliminary hearing and he did not have the opportunity to confront him at the trial. We agree this amounted to a violation of Roldan's rights. Accordingly, we reversed the convictions stemming from that particular shooting. We also modified the judgment to properly reflect the trial's court's sentencing decisions to award Roldan one additional day of pre-sentence custody credit. In all other respects, we affirm. So on December 28, 2006, Savas Barrera was shot during an encounter that occurred in the area of Santa Ana, claimed by the Lion Street Gang. By the time of trial, Barrera had been deported to Mexico, but the trial court allowed the prosecution to introduce his preliminary hearing testimony into evidence. At the hearing, Barrera testified he was a member of Lion Street at the time of the shooting. He said he and the friend were walking in the hard territory of his gang. Claimed when a white car pulled up to them, his friend walked toward the car and began speaking with the driver, while Barrera stayed on the sidewalk. Then the front passenger stepped out of the car and came toward Barrera. Barrera recognized the man as appellant Juan Roldan because he had done time with him at a youth correctional camp. At the camp, Barrera did not get along with Roldan because Roldan belonged to the Walnut Street Gang, a rival of Lion Street. Upon alighting from the car, Roldan asked Barrera where he was from, which forced Barrera to either admit or deny his gang membership. Barrera chose the former option, telling Roldan he belonged to Lion Street. In response, Roldan pulled out a gun and shot him 3 times. Barrera blacked out and did not regain consciousness until 3 weeks later. His injuries required multiple surgeries, and he was not released from the hospital until spring of 2007. In July 2008, Barrera was arrested on a probation violation for associating with members of Lion Street. He was only expected to serve 5 months in jail for the violation. However, when his sentence ended in December 2008, he was kept in the Orange County Jail on a federal immigration hold for 9 months until after the preliminary hearing in this case in September 2009. Following his testimony at the preliminary hearing, Barrera was turned over to the federal authorities and deported to Mexico. The second shooting at issue here occurred on December 17, 2006, 11 days before Barrera was shot. That day, Fernando Garcia, Angel Secundino, Gabriel Perez, and Vanessa Diaz were walking in an alley claimed by their gang, the Lopers. As they exited the alley, a car with 5 or 6 people inside pulled up to them. The people in the car yelled out, F and Lops, and Garcia's group responded by making the letter L with their hands. Then the front passenger and at least one of the rear passengers got out of the car and walked down towards Garcia's group. Garcia asked them where they from, and they said Walnut. Garcia responded, this is Lopers, thinking there was going to be a fight. Instead, someone in the car bellowed, shoot them already, and several shots rang out in rapid succession. Sencundino and Perez were shot in the head and died on the scene, but Garcia survived the gunshot to the stomach while he was lying on the ground after the shooting. Police officers asked him if he knew who shot him. Although Garcia was badly wounded, he responded Juan Roldan. When asked if he knew where Roldan was from, he made a W with his fingers and said Walnut. The police investigation revealed a semi-automatic pistol and a 38 caliber revolver were both fired at the scene. The revolver was found during the search of Roldan's house, and the pistol was found on Walnut Street member Norberto Hernandez when he was arrested. Garcia was hospitalized for months following the shooting. Following his release, investigators interviewed him at his home on March 1, 2007. They showed him a series of photographic lineups, and Garcia identified co-defendant Oriam Ayala as the person who shot him, and Roldan as someone who was in or near the car at the time of the shooting. Garcia also said Walnut Street members Norberto Hernandez and Angel Garcia were present during the shooting. Gang detective and expert witness Matthew McLeod testified Roldan is a shot caller in Walnut Street and higher up in the gang than Ayala. McLeod said that could explain why Garcia changed his story and implicated Ayala as the shooter after initially identifying Roldan at the scene. McLeod said that in his experience, it is not uncommon for witnesses to gang crimes to change their stories out of fear of retaliation. Speaking to the culture of criminal street gangs, McLeod testified respect is the be all and end all of their existence. He said, gangs and their individual members earn respect by committing violent acts and instilling fear in others. Gang members are also expected to back each other up when committing crimes. In this case of Walnut Street, its crimes range from vandalism and car theft all the way up to murder. In fact, from 2005 to 2010, the gang was involved in no fewer than 4 murders McLeod was aware of. McLeod also said guns are often passed around freely in gangs, and as high-ranking members of Walnut Street, Roldan and Hernandez would be expected to be armed on most occasions. As for the shootings at issue in this case, McLeod opened that they would benefit Walnut Street both by demonstrating how ruthless the gang is and by demonstrating the ranks and by diminishing ranks of its rivals. The defense presented evidence from Vanessa Diaz, who, as noted above, was the victim at the time of the Lopers shooting. According to Diaz, 2 bandana-wearing gunmen got out of the car. When it approached her group, she recognized Angel Garcia, aka Mono, as one of the men. No words were exchanged, but Secundino did lift up his shirt, revealing a Lopers tattoo to the gunman. After that, Mono shot both Secundino and Perez. Roldan and Ayala were jointly charged with murdering Secundino and Perez in the first degree and attempted to murder Garcia. Gang, firearm, and special circumstances allegations were also alleged against them. In addition, Roldan was separately charged with attempted murder, aggravated assault, and street terrorism in connection with the Varela shooting. Following a joint trial, Roldan was convicted of counts involving Varela, but the jury deadlocked on the counts arising from the Loper shooting. Roldan and Ayala were then retried and then deadlocked counts, and the jury found them guilty as charged. Thereupon, the court sentenced them to multiple life sentences. Roldan not only received 40 years to life for attempting to murder Varela with a firearm, he also received life without parole on each of the murder counts, having already affirmed the judgment as to Ayala. People versus Ayala. So, like I said, these guys are gunners. They don't play. The guys that I knew, they were vicious. Uh, it's a very violent lifestyle, and it's not worth it at the end of the day. It leads to jail, death, and the hospital. That's all it leads to. I found another article, right? Uh, Saying Walnut Street is a criminal street gang in Santa Ana. Prospero Guadarrama, whose moniker is Rascal, Juan Roldan, Minor, Norberto Hernandez, Clumsy, Oiram Ayala, Menace, and Angel Garcia are active members of the gang. Police seized from defendants' home photographs of defendants with Walnut Street members. One of the photographs showed 6 people, 3 of whom were Walnut Street gang members. 2 of the gang members were showing Walnut Street hand signs, and Menace was holding a gun. The gang expert Matthew McLeod testified that in his opinion, the defendant was an active participant in the Walnut Street gang on December 17, 2006. On December 17, 2006, District Attorney Investigator Kevin Ruiz responded to the scene of the shooting of 200 block of East Camille Street between Orange and Cypress Street in Santa Ana. In the territory claimed by the Loper Street Gang, paramedics were in the process of transporting Fernando Garcia to the hospital. He had been shot in the stomach or chest area and remained comatose for several weeks. The bodies of Gabriel Perez and Angel Segundino were on the ground. Both had been under 16 years old and each died from a single gunshot to the head. The police recovered two RP-380 automatic casings and a bullet from the scene. One casing was near Perez's body and the other was underneath it. Less than a month after the shootings, police went to Miner's residence to arrest him. They found a loaded .38 revolver in the bathroom sink and found a Miner hiding in a closet. A few weeks later, police recovered a loaded .380 automatic pistol when Clumsy dropped it while being chased. A firearms expert concluded that the bullet recovered from the shooting scene had been fired from the revolver found in Miner's residence, and the casings had been expanded from the pistol dropped by Clumsy. McLeod interrogated defendant the day after the shooting. After being advised of his Miranda rights, defendant gave the following account of the shootings. On December 17, he took his father's black Chrysler without permission. He drove to Birch Street in Santa Ana where he picked up Miner, Rascal, Clumsy, and Menace. At around 3 p.m., Clumsy sat in the front passenger seat. Menace sat in the back. Rascal and Miner sat in the back. Clumsy had a .38 caliber revolver in his waistband. Miner had a gun too. The group went driving around looking for enemies of Walnut Street. Defendant understood this means they would F them up, blast them, anything. Walnut's enemies include Central Myrtle, Lopers, Townsend, and KPC. Defendant's role in backing up others was to drive and keep an eye out for the police. They first came upon a male walking toward the first street in the area of Myrtle and Flower Street. Defendant thought the male was a member of Central Myrtle. Rascal hit him up. The male who said he does not bang. Rascal hit him up. The male who said he does not bang, so Rascal let the male go. When they came upon the male a second time, he threw a brick at them and did not hit them or the car. Rascal chased the male, firing 5 shots at him, all of which missed. Miner reloaded and Rascal said they should go look for Lopers. An hour later, while driving in the area of Main and McFadden Streets, they saw 3 males they believed were Lopers. The suspected Lopers were walking in an alley. Miner told defendant to follow them. Defendant knew we were going to blast them. When the targets left the alley and turned to the right, defendant followed a couple of car lengths behind. He stopped the car when instructed to do so by Clumsy. Menace said he thought one of the males was Youngster, a Loper believed to have killed Slim, a Walnut gang member. Miner, Clumsy, Menace, and Rascal got out of the car and almost encircled the 3 suspected Lopers. Defendant stayed in the car watching for other cars. Miner and Clumsy had guns. Defendant was sure Menace did not have a gun. Rascal was there as backup. They hit up the suspected Lopers asking, "Where you from?" Guns were pointed at the Lopers and Menace socked one of them in the face. The victim of the assault did not fight back. Defendant thinks Clumsy told the Lopers to turn around. One complied. At least one of the Walnut members called out "Walnut," and Miner and Clumsy started shooting. Defendant heard 3 shots. The gunshots sounded different. 2 were louder than the other. The Loper who turned around was shot in the back of the head by Clumsy. The 3 Lopers fell to the ground. Defendant drove the others from the scene and dropped them off on Walnut Street. Gunners. Straight gunners, man. And it's sad, because it's just loss of life. A lot of the time, these kids are just confused. They want to belong. They probably don't have a male role model or just any positive role model in general, We seem to forget that a lot of people grow up without their fathers. A lot of people grow up without their mothers. And some people grow up without both. And it's a hard life, And it leads to a destructive path. And we need to keep the youth from going down that path because they're the future. And if we don't do nothing about it, we're going to lose them all, On December 15th, 2006 at 7 p.m. G. Rojas and his son, N. Rojas, were finishing up their day selling corn on the cob from their push carts at apartments on Ray Townsend and Monte Vista streets. They pushed their carts from Townsend Street and made a right turn on Monte Vista to return their van parked about 30 meters away just past the alley. G. Rojas said two people ran past them yelling, "There they go." There were 5 or 6 people in the alley to the right of Monte Vista. G. Rojas heard 2 shots fired about 10 to 15 seconds after he and his son were passed by the individual who yelled, "There they go." Initially, and Rojas testified the people who ran by them started shooting toward people in the alley, and the people in the alley shot back. Later, he said he could not tell which group fired first. He heard approximately 5 shots in quick succession. A suspect who had run directly behind N. Rojas fired a semi automatic handgun. Behind N. Rojas, shots were fired from N. Rojas left and right. G. Rojas said the shooting started at the beginning of the alley. He was hit by a bullet in the lower right side of his back and has been confined to a wheelchair since the shooting. Police recovered 2 shell casings from the parking lot behind one apartment building and 2 more from the breezeway next to the parking lot. The 2 found in the parking lot were close to each other. All were RP 380 bullet casings. You know, it's crazy because a lot of the times when gangbangers shoot each other, they don't always get their target, and they don't always get the guy they want. You know, so you gotta be aware of what you're doing at all times, because if you just shoot and you run the chance of hitting a pedestrian, a civilian, you know, someone that has nothing to do with nothing, and a lot of the times they don't care. You know, it's all right, but you know, everything comes back full circle. You know, you might hit a pedestrian right now, a civilian, innocent person, and a few years down the line, you never know. You know, you might get shot at, and your kid might get killed. You know, because karma comes all the way back around. It doesn't miss for nobody. You know, scripture says you live by the gun, you die by the gun, and that's fact. You know, you can't escape that route. Once you start shooting them slugs, you run the risk of injuring your own family. And reminds me of this news article that came out today about 2 youngsters got shot at in Santa Ana by Edinger and Flower, I think, and they got shot at, and the only person that got hit was a lady inside a pizza parlor. You know, and it's messed up because they say that she looked at her husband and smiled before she fell to the ground and died. And that's a cold thing, man. We got to be aware of what we're doing. So on the evening of May 1, 2009, Angela Corrette, her 18-year-old boyfriend Mario Chutan, and his friends Omar Martinez and Mario de Rosas attended a children's birthday party on Walnut Street in Santa Ana. Chutan and his friends belonged to Orange County Criminals, a gang operating in Santa Ana. Corrette belonged to the Sullivan Street Gang. Members of another street gang, the Lopers, also attended the party. Members of these gangs peacefully attended the party because the Lopers got along with OCC. The location of the party, however, posed the potential for a violent confrontation because it took place on Walnut Street, an area the Walnut Street Gang claimed. The Sullivan Gang was an occasional rival, and the Lopers hostile antagonists of Walnut Street. The presence of the Lopers at a party on Walnut Street was an affront to Walnut Street gang members, Gonzalez and Juan Castro, who received a telephone call alerting them about the party. Gonzalez and Castro arrived at the party to confront their rivals. Corrette heard someone say, "Where you from?" and effing Lops. Chutan walked to the gate area and said, "What's up then?" And people started yelling out their gangs and stuff. Someone in Chutan's party identified his group as Orange County Criminals. Corrette told Chutan not to say anything because children were nearby. She urged Gonzalez and Castro to calm down because it was a child's birthday party. Gonzalez replied he did not give a fuck and told Corrette to get out of the way. He walked past her, pulling his sweatshirt hood over his head, and Castro pulled out a gun and pointed it in Corrette's face, but put the gun away and said, "Don't trip, we're not going to do anything," explaining he had thought Corrette's group was from the Lops. But Chutan and Gonzalez continued to challenge one another and exchange blows. Castro, who had been standing behind Gonzalez on the sidewalk, blasted at the floor, and then he just started blasting anywhere. Chutan was hit in the back as he walked away. Castro then fired 6 or 7 shots, hitting Martinez and De Rosas. De Rosas testified he was shot in his left wrist and both legs. He told police officers he heard gunshots and ran toward the rear of the apartment complex. He felt a pinching sensation in his legs as he fled. Anthony Valencia also attended the party and told a police officer the assailants walked across the street, throwing out Walnut gang signs and claiming they were from the Walnut Street. The party goers said, "We're not from around here," and identified themselves as Orange County. The trailer assailant, wearing a black hooded sweatshirt and dark pants, clocked one of the male partygoers in the face. The victim began socking him back, and the taller assailant backed up and told his shorter companion, "Hey, blast him, or blast him, or blast his fool." The shooter, standing behind and to the left of the non-shooter, started blasting. Valencia heard 6 or 7 gunshots. Investigators collected 9mm cartridges casings from the scene. 15-year-old Alexis Gonzalez lived on Walnut Street in May 2009. She told an officer she saw Chutan fighting with another male. The male held Chutan by the shirt and punched him several times in the face. A second man, who she identified as Castro, came from across the street with a black semi-automatic handgun. He slid the slide back on the handgun and fired 3 to 4 shots. The two assailants fled together. Police officers arrested Castro and Gonzalez at Castro's home, a short walk from the site of the homicide. The morning after Chutan's murder, Gonzalez attempted to flee from a rear entrance in the southeast bedroom. Officers found a notebook with Castro's name and writing suggesting Walnut Street gang affiliations and 38 caliber ammunition. They found clothing, including gloves and black beanie, in the washing machine. In the northwest bedroom, officers found Gonzalez's driver's license and identification card, a cell phone, a pair of Gonzalez's prescription eyeglasses, male clothing, and a notebook containing gang writings. The officers also searched Gonzalez's home. They found Walnut gang graffiti and photos of Gonzalez with another Walnut Street gang member, including Castro, in gang poses, and a 38 caliber ammunition. Officers found a gun cleaning kit in a bathroom closet. Efrain Mercado, a former Walnut Street gang member, described the contours of the gang's territory and the role of its members, including protecting your neighborhood and always having a fellow gang member's back, even if violence was required. Walnut Street did not get along with lopers, and bad things would happen if the lopers came into their neighborhood. Mercado had known Walnut gang member Gonzalez since 5th grade. He also knew gang member Castro. Gonzalez described the May 2009 shooting to Mercado while they were both in jail in 2010. Gonzalez explained he was at Castro's home and he received a phone call advising that lopers were at a nearby party. He and Castro walked over and did a hit-up, and Gonzalez got into a fight with an OCC gang member. Castro told Gonzalez to step aside and then fired his gun at the crowd. Mercado explained the gang member who did a hit-up would expect violence to occur. Detective Julian Rodriguez, a police officer with gang expertise, also described the gang culture and explained the importance of respect and power in the gang underworld. He testified Walnut Street was an established criminal street gang comprised of approximately 50 members who engaged in violent criminal conduct and weapons possession. Both Gonzalez and Castro identified themselves as Walnut Street gang members and were actively participating in the gang. On May 1, 2009, in 2006, Gonzalez told another officer Walnut Street was at war with the Lopers because they murdered a fellow gang member. In 2008, Gonzalez talked to a police officer about gang guns, and Gonzalez agreed. Gonzalez agreed a gang member would tell fellow gang members about the presence of a gun because people should know about a weapon so it could be used if needed. Rodriguez opened the current crimes benefiting the gang. Following a trial in October 2013, the jury convicting Gonzalez, as noted above, in December 2013. The trial court imposed a term of 25 years to life for first degree murder plus a consecutive term of 25 years to life. For the associated firearm enhancement, the court imposed a consecutive term of life with possibility of parole. For attempted premeditated murder plus a consecutive 20-year term. For the associated firearm enhancement, the court imposed and stayed a 2-year midterm for active gang participation. So, like I said, you guys gotta be careful what you guys do, man. You know, uh, you want to protect your neighborhood, really protect it. You know, keep it away, keep away tweakers. You know, keep away thieves. You know, don't hurt the people in your barrio. You know, back then I've heard stories of neighborhoods being built to protect the barrio, to protect the people in your neighborhood, make sure no one got victimized. You know, and now it seems it's just all about money. It's all about power. You know, whoever uh, does the most violent thing or whatever. You know, but you got to remember that nowadays you can't get away with it no more. You know, this ain't the '90s. You know, there's cameras everywhere, good cameras, cameras that can catch your face. You know, everywhere you go, there's gonna be a camera. Yeah, there's cases where some people do get away, but not everybody gets away. You know, and I think it's important for you guys to really know that because I've seen cases where there was this case not that long ago where a car pulled up on a youngster from Logan, and they just shot the youngster from Logan. The guy didn't even get out of the car, and as soon as he hit county, he just went straight PC. It's like, what's the point of that? You know, it's like, why? Like, you killed them, you took that life away because you wanted a gangbang, and then you went PC right away after that. Stupid, you know, it's dumb. You shouldn't have done that. You weren't thinking. Uh, and I think we need to make better choices as Raza, you know? Uh, People need to start getting checked. You know, there's no older homies to check the little homies no more. You know, and the older homies that are out, I'm not saying all of them are like that, but most of them are smoked out. They're on drugs. You know, they're on bikes. I'm not saying everybody. No disrespect to nobody from no body or nothing, but more than likely a lot of people are on bikes now. You know, they're smoked out, and we need to stay away from that. So with that being said, Mirasa, my people, stay up, stay woke, and stay away from the bullshit, man. Catch you guys later.